is up, everybody? Welcome into the Porch ahead of the SEC baseball tournament. It's going to be a fun week in Hoover, hopefully an extended stay for the Volunteers. And we're going to chat about it, preview it all, and discuss some season-ending accolades and so much more with Zander Sechrist coming up here in just a little bit, right here on the Porch. The Porch is presented by our friends each and every week over at Spivey King and Spivey LLP. If you got a problem, let them find a solution for you. TN Trial Lawyers, the phone number for a free consultation today if you have a need. That is 423-245-4185, 423-245-4185. You can check them out online at Spivey King and Spivey LLP.com as well. Spivey King and Spivey, you got a problem, let them find a solution for you. TN Trial Lawyers. All right, so we're not going to spend an awful lot of time discussing what's gone wrong. You know, last week at Arkansas, we'll touch base with Zander a little bit back half of the show. I did think the at-bats got better. I do think the offense was much better. Game 3 was a bit of a different story, but hitting with runners in scoring position was good over the weekend. Tennessee out-hit Arkansas over the weekend. Just pitching didn't have enough, and obviously credit Arkansas as well. That lineup is really, really good. And you had an opportunity there in Game 2 with your ace for the first time this year pitching in Game 2, Liam Doyle, and he's been so elite all year long. It's almost like a bad outing was kind of expected, but you felt so good about going into that game, and ultimately it was not his day. But Tennessee drops the series at Arkansas, losing 5 straight series to end the regular season, 6 of their past 7. Tennessee overall in SEC play won 4 series, lost 6. Finished the SEC slate with a 16-14 record, finished the overall regular season with a 41-15 record. So again, I'm not going to dwell on everything that's gone wrong here, just kind of paint the picture of what's happening right now, what's to come here in Hoover and all that. First, we'll get into some postseason accolades real quick. And Tennessee kind of racked up. First and foremost, it was Liam Doyle, who was named SEC Pitcher of the Year. SEC Pitcher of the Year, the first since Chase Dolander in 2022. Luke Hochaver as well, and back in 2005. Garrett Crochet never won Pitcher of the Year because, again, likely the year that he was probably going to win it or be in contention for it, 2020. It got wiped out midseason due to COVID-19. But yeah, pretty good showing there. Liam Doyle, again, he was named on Sunday afternoon a Golden Spikes Award semifinalist. SEC Pitcher of the Year and first team All-SEC. He led the nation with 137 strikeouts in the regular season, tied for the most wins in the SEC with 9. Second in the league with a 2.72 ERA, second in batting average against at 171. Dude was phenomenal. 79 innings and a third, 14 starts, 15 appearances. Remember that one appearance that wasn't a start was when he came in to pitch the extra innings in technically Game 2 of the Auburn series, but that was Sunday morning, or I guess early afternoon. 14 starts, 15 appearances. He allowed 27 runs, 24 of those were earned, 48 hits, walked just 25 batters. Again, 137 strikeouts to 25 batters. That's not a bad ratio, if I do say so myself. He gave up 18 extra base hits, 7 doubles, 9 home runs, racked up double-digit strikeouts in 7 of his starts this season. So in 7 of his 14 starts, he racked up double-digit strikeouts. That is not bad whatsoever. Congratulations to Liam Doyle, SEC Pitcher of the Year and first team All-SEC. Andrew Fisher, also one of 3 volunteers in the first team, one of 4 volunteers overall to get honored by the Southeastern Conference yesterday. One of the best hitters in the league. He was very much in conversation for Player of the Year, led the conference in home runs with 22, led the conference in slugging percentage, on base percentage. He tied for the SEC lead with 56 walks as well. The stat that he doesn't get publicized enough, and it's remarkable. Andrew Fisher reached base safely in every single regular season game this year. Let that sink in. Every single game he reached base safely. 56 games, he was on base, whether it be a hit, walk, error, whatever. Fielder's choice, he reached base safely, which is just mind-blowing. It's pretty, I guess fielder's choice wouldn't be in that conversation because I go down to 0-1, but nonetheless, or maybe it will. Even though it's 0-1 at the plate, you still reach base. So I don't know. We'll discuss that later on. It's not important. But he reached base safely in every single game this season. Pretty remarkable. Finished the regular season hitting .337 at the plate, 55 runs batted in, 60 runs scored. The latter two, both second on the squad. The 60 runs scored was second to Keelan, I believe. And the 55 runs batted in, or maybe Curley, actually. The 55 runs batted in, that was second to Hunter Inslee, who we'll get to here in just a moment. Second baseman Gavin Keelan, also the Third Vol to garner first-team All-SEC honors on Monday. Third transfer we've talked about here in this realm. Finished fourth in the conference with slugging percentage, ninth in the conference with batting average at .355. He had a midseason hamstring injury that caused him to miss, about 12 to 13 games, but still had 14 home runs, drove in 37 runs, and scored 48 runs himself. Struck out only 21 times in 172 at-bats, which is really, really impressive. Gavin Keelan, that it's kind of been struggling down here towards the back half of SEC play, and really the SEC splits are not that good. I was kind of surprised that Gavin Keelan got first team all-conference, but certainly you're not going to apologize for that. The last Vol to get honored by the Southeastern Conference on Monday was Hunter Inslee. Second team All-SEC, was also named the All-Defensive Team. Committed one error all year long, had a .990 fielding percentage, 93 putouts, 2 outfield assists. At the plate, it was a breakout year for Hunter Inslee. 60 RBI, led Tennessee. Second to Keelan with a .350 batting average. Second most at-bats on the squad with 206 on the year. The slugger homered 10 times, scored 40 runs, and stole 6 bases to help Tennessee win the games that they did. And, of course, he had 16 doubles as well. That led Tennessee as well. The 60 RBI for Hunter Inslee, that was 6th in the SEC. His 72 hits tied for 7th in the conference. His .315 batting average was good enough for 13th in the league. So those guys, pretty phenomenal work. Pretty phenomenal work for sure. And congratulations on those accomplishments to the All-SEC Volunteers. A couple other stats that I thought were pretty noteworthy here as we kind of tie a book on the regular season. Dylan Loy had a tied for the SEC lead with 27 relief appearances, 27 appearances overall on the mound. That is pretty impressive. And Cannon Peebles, how about this? Cannon Peebles threw out an SEC high 19 base runners trying to steal bags. Stone Lawless was tied for 4th, throwing out 9 as well. So we talk about managing the run game, and it all just looks bad on Tennessee's catcher so many times. I mean, it's a battery situation here. It's pitcher, catcher, and Cannon Peebles started throwing some guys out there towards the end of the year. So congratulations to him for sure. That's a pretty good stat. Overall, at the end of the regular season, again, Tennessee finishes 41-15, 16-14 in SEC play. You had 5 players finish over 300 with a batting average, 355 for Gavin Keelan, Hunter Inslee 350, Andrew Fisher 337, Dalton Bargo 317, and Dean Curley 310. You look at those SEC splits specifically, and Andrew Fisher led the way, 340 average, Hunter Inslee 323, Dalton Bargo 312, Dean Curley 295. And then there's a bit of a drop-off there. Gavin Keelan 269, Reese Chapman 262, Manny Marin 254, and then Cannon Peebles 234. Home runs, Andrew Fisher in SEC play led Tennessee with 11. You had 7 SEC home runs from Dalton Bargo, 6 for Hunter Inslee, 7 for Cannon Peebles, and then 4 for Dean Curley. So that's a look at some of the annual awards brought home by Tennessee. Again, Liam Doyle, SEC Pitcher of the Year, the 3rd ever in the program's history. 4 representatives on the All-SEC team, 3 first-teamers, and, of course, Hunter Inslee, who was named to the All-Defensive team as well as the second team. So congrats to all those guys. Looking ahead to the projections, if you will, before going into Hoover, and simply what needs to happen for Tennessee to climb itself back into the race of being a host seed. I mean, as it stands right now, guys, I mean, Tennessee, in my opinion, unless it takes a deep run into Hoover and you get some help elsewhere, Tennessee's probably not going to be a host. And, you've lost 6 of your last 7 weekends and 5 straight. You probably don't deserve to be a host. And I don't mean that to sound cruel, but it is what it is. I mean, that's what's happened. Plus, I think this Tennessee team plays better away from home, as weird as it is. Less distractions, maybe less pressure, kind of getting fueled by an angry crowd and all that. I do think Tennessee has played better away from Lindsey Nelson Stadium this year. So I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. But still, there is some scenarios where Tennessee could be back on the host line. What does that look like? Well, when you look at the NCAA host bubble right now, and I put a story about out this over Volquest.com yesterday, you got a number of different teams that are kind of on the bubble right now in terms of hosting, and in no particular order. Georgia Tech, Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, TCU, Ole Miss, UCLA, Dallas Baptist, Southern Miss, and Kansas, to name the majority of those. There might be another team or two in there that I that I didn't list. But if you go back and look at that story that I put out, I put down the RPI numbers for each of these teams and the record versus quad one opponents. And Tennessee's is up there. I mean, RPI 16. Tennessee's record against quad one opponents 12-10. That is the, I think, tied for the second best record amongst these teams against quad one. You had Alabama that's got a 14-11 record against quad one teams. Georgia Tech is 12-10. Tennessee is 12-10. And then there are some, Ole Miss is 16-14. So Tennessee would be tied for third. Ole Miss is 16-14 in quad one wins. And Ole Miss has an RPI of 18. I mean, a lot of these teams are already projected to be a host, whether it be D1 Baseball, Baseball America, 11.7, whatever the case may be, on 3. I'll put 2 examples here. I did the D1 Baseball and the 11.7 iterations here of the projections that have already come out this week ahead of the SEC tournament and all the conference tournaments around the country this week. D1 Baseball has UCLA as the 13th overall seed, Southern Miss is the 14th overall seed, TCU is the 15th overall seed, and Georgia Tech is the 16th overall seed. 11.7 has UCLA as the 13th overall seed, Georgia Tech as the 14th overall seed, Florida as the 15th overall seed. I don't see that happening. And Alabama as the 16th overall seed. In both of those scenarios, or both of those projections, mind you, earlier this week, they had Tennessee going to the Atlanta Regional, which is hosted by Georgia Tech. It's just in one of those, Georgia Tech is the 16th overall seed, and then the other, Georgia Tech is the 14th overall seed. And in one of those iterations, you had the Atlanta region matching up against the Austin Regional with number 1 overall seed Texas. That was D1 Baseball. And the 11.7 had the Atlanta region matching up against the Nashville Regional, which is Vanderbilt with the number 3 overall seed. Again, these are just projections entering this week. So I'm looking at the story that I wrote yesterday, and I wrote down some scenarios. I'm basically kind of like a rooting guy, like what needs to happen for Tennessee to be a host seed. And these aren't all the scenarios. These are just a couple from people I spoke to earlier in the week and some ones that I knew here. But essentially, Tennessee needs to play Alabama tomorrow, okay? And at the time of this recording, I don't know who won, Alabama or Missouri. I don't know if I'm probably going to put this out here while the game is going on. But, of course, Alabama and Missouri, play Tuesday morning, and the winner gets Tennessee on Wednesday morning. It would behoove Tennessee for that to be Alabama. It should be Alabama. Missouri's not very good, albeit Missouri had a couple of wins there later in the season. But it should be Alabama. And why does it need to be Alabama? Because Alabama's number 9 in RPI right now. So if Tennessee beats Alabama on Wednesday, turn around, you would play number 4 RPI team in Texas on Thursday, the number 1 overall seed in the SEC tournament. Tennessee wins those 2 games, boy, that's a lot of RPI going in the right direction. That would be 18 wins in Southeastern Conference play. That wouldn't go to the SEC record anymore, but those are 18 wins in SEC play. That's pretty big. But Tennessee still would need some help, in my opinion, not just getting those 2. I mean, again, I think Tennessee needs to go on a pretty significant run here in Hoover this week, in my opinion. Look at Alabama. Alabama, Tennessee, if that is the case on Wednesday morning, that's pretty much a knockout game in terms of hosting a regional. If Alabama beats Tennessee, Tennessee's for sure not hosting. If Tennessee beats Alabama, Alabama's for sure not hosting. So you can cross one of those teams off the bubble watch for hosting. But Tennessee's got to have Alabama and Texas. Say Tennessee ends up playing Missouri, right? I mean, if Tennessee continues to win on into Hoover, you can make that up. But, you need Alabama and Texas here because if you beat Alabama but you lose to Texas, that's a wash. That does nothing for you. And that's the same for later in the tournament here. I'll get to here in a moment. A team like Florida. Like if Florida squares off against Ole Miss, that would be on Thursday potentially. That's kind of a de facto knockout game as well in terms of hosting. Florida wins, Ole Miss definitely won't host. Ole Miss wins, Florida's definitely not hosting. I don't think Florida's going to host, anyway. But for the most part, Tennessee's kind of sitting pretty because Alabama and a team like Florida, they got to play on Tuesday already. So they've already played one more game. And if Alabama and Florida win, which I assume is going to happen, not many RPI points are going to be gained there from beating South Carolina and Missouri, respectively. But wins over Tennessee and Ole Miss would be the difference. So just like I was saying, just like a potential Tennessee-Alabama matchup, the potential of Florida and Ole Miss on Wednesday, would be a knockout game as well. So that's kind of a look at the SEC a little bit. Look in the Big Ten. They do pool plays a little bit different there. UCLA takes on Illinois in the opener Wednesday morning. Obviously, it would be good for Illinois to win that game. Kansas will take on the winner of in the Big 12. Kansas will take on the winner of Oklahoma State and Baylor. TCU will take on the winner of Kansas State and Houston. Again, you want to root for chaos. You want to root for upsets. Dallas Baptist is the number 1 overall seed in the Conference USA tournament. Southern Miss, arguably the hottest team in baseball right now, mind you. They're the number 2 seed in the Sun Belt. Again, chaos, upsets, that would be good. So all this to say, I mean, there's more scenarios out there. And again, if Tennessee goes on a deep run in Hoover, that's going to help the Volunteers. But you enter the week as an outside chance of hosting. But if some of this stuff kind of falls your way, not only are you playing yourself back into the conversation, but the more you continue to win, the harder it is for the committee to kind of deny you that right to host. So we'll see what happens. There's some scenarios out there, but for first and foremost, Tennessee needs to win, presumably against Alabama on Wednesday. You need to beat Texas and then kind of go from there, and you certainly hope for some help along the way as well. Again, look at that D1 Baseball Field of 64 edition. This came out on Sunday. They're going to update these every single day this week, based on what's happening around the country. As I mentioned, Tennessee was the number 2 seed against Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, the 16 overall seed in Atlanta. That would match up against Texas, presumably in the Austin Regional. Texas, under this simulation, the number 1 overall seed. The rest of the field in Atlanta with Tennessee and Georgia Tech is the Yellow Jackets, the Volunteers. Got Arizona State as the 3 seed, and Columbia, which was the first to actually punch a ticket, winning the Ivy League on Sunday, as the 4 seed. You look across the field there in the Austin Regional, it's Texas. In this simulation, Texas, the 1 seed. Dallas Baptist, not being a host, they'd be the 2 seed there. That's a tough draw. USC, the 3 seed, and Houston Christian, the 4 seed. So that's kind of what that looks like according to D1 Baseball. In case you're wondering, D1 Baseball has the top 16 seeds looking like this. Texas is number 1, Arkansas number 2, Vanderbilt number 3, North Carolina number 4, Georgia number 5, Auburn number 6, LSU number 7, Oregon number 8, Oregon State number 9, Coastal Carolina number 10, Florida State number 11, Clemson number 12, UCLA number 13, Southern Miss number 14, TCU number 15, and Georgia Tech number 16. 4 to watch, in case you're wondering about the SEC, Texas A&M is listed under the 4 to watch. No SEC teams currently in the first 4 outs, and no SEC teams currently in the last 4 in, though Notre Dame and Virginia are 2 in that last 4 in category. So that's kind of a look at the big picture. That's kind of a look at the field of 64 projections. Again, Tennessee's made the dance. Tennessee's going to be a number 2 at minimum. Tennessee can go down there and lose in Hoover, potentially come back and still going to be a number 2. Obviously, Tennessee's going to be try to win as many games as it needs to. But more than anything, like, you take the hosting conversation out of it, Tennessee just needs to win to, just feel good about themselves, right? It's been a long 6 weeks, and Tennessee's not played very good baseball. The offense has played better the last 2 weekends. Arkansas, as I mentioned, I thought Tennessee did well offensively. For the most part, hitting runners in scoring position, still left way too many men on base, struck out a ton on Sunday, but it out-hit Arkansas over the weekend. Scored 10 runs in Game 1, scored 6 runs in Game 2, scored 4 runs in Game 3. I think the offense is seeing it better, hitting it better, and that should give you confidence going on. It's just pitching. Tennessee just feels like nothing is easy on the mound for the Volunteers, and that's unfortunate because there's still so much talent there. So what does Tennessee need to accomplish in Hoover? Just go down there and win. Just win, baby, win, right? Just feel good about yourselves. Get some confidence. Just prove that, hey, you are good. You are a good baseball team. You are good baseball players. You haven't forgotten how to win. I think the mind game and the confidence and kind of feeling yourself, getting some swagger back, I think that can go a long way. I truly do. The game is so much more mental than it is physical, and that's the same for football as well. It's kind of crazy to say, but the game is such a big part mentally as well. And so I think Tennessee just needs to go down there and try to find its groove again. So we will see what happens in that regard. Who's going to pitch Wednesday? Time of this recording, and I might have an update later on as the week goes along. Again, looking to recording this on Monday afternoon, looking to release this probably a little bit before, maybe around lunchtime on Tuesday. I don't know who's going to pitch, or at least start the Wednesday game. I do not foresee a scenario where they bump Marcus Phillips and Liam Doyle up. I understand potential the hosting right is on the line, but Marcus Phillips pitched on 2 days of short rest last week. You really want to bump him up another day here? Liam Doyle has been dealing with a blister the last month of the season. Do you really want to move him up off his routine rest? They switched things up to keep him on his normal 5-day work week, right? And so I don't see them bumping him up as well. So what makes the most sense to me is A.J. Russell. A.J. Russell, when kept clean, has the longevity now to probably get you 4 innings, maybe 5. His outings have been cut short in the bullpen of late because they kind of got hairy there at the end, but had a little fire, had a little spunk to him Thursday night, and that was great to see. So ideally, A.J. Russell starting this Wednesday game, he'll be on, 6 days rest? That makes all the sense in the world to me. All the sense in the world to me. If not A.J. Russell, I think Michael Sharman, who's kind of taken over that midweek starter role and been looking good doing it as well. You can package some of your better relievers behind Sharman as well, a Loy, a Franklin, a Snead, some of these other guys as well, I think would make a whole lot of sense. So even if it is Sharman starting the Wednesday game, I think you can package some guys behind him. I wrote about it in the 3-2-1 the last 2 years in the opener of the SEC tournament. Tony Vitello was elected to start your swing man because potentially that could be your 4th starter in a regional play, like Seth Halverson in 2023, Nate Snead in 2024. We know Nate Snead can do that. So, it would be silly, in my opinion, to start Nate Snead on Wednesday morning. We know he can start if need be. A.J. Russell's probably that guy that's going to be starting a 4th game if you need, or maybe even the 3rd game. It's truly a game-by-game situation here in postseason play. So I think it makes too much sense to me not to start A.J. Russell in the Wednesday game and then see what happens from there. If you win Wednesday, you can get back on your normal set of Marcus Phillips on Thursday, Liam Doyle on Friday, Tegan Coons if you need it on Saturday, and then kind of patchwork it from there as well. So we'll see what happens. Tennessee's in the dance. Tony Vitello will never say this. No player will ever say this. We'll ask Zander this, but there's a more important checklist of things that need to be accomplished more so than winning the SEC tournament. Just kind of how it is, right? Winning the tournament's fun. I'm not saying you're not trying to win it, but lining up your pitching, doing some things here, on a normal year. But also, this isn't a normal year. Last couple of years, Tennessee was sprinting to the SEC tournament. Right now, Tennessee is limping. So, the emphasis on winning the whole thing might be greater this year than it was in years past when Tennessee won in 22 and in 24. I don't know. We'll see. But it should be a fun week down there in Hoover. We're going to be there. Super stoked about that. Hopefully it's an extended stay, and we will see what happens. Of course, Tennessee will play the winner of Missouri and Alabama on Wednesday morning. You win that one, you turn around at 4 o'clock Eastern time and take on Texas on Thursday afternoon. Okay, so what should Tennessee be in for a week in Hoover? How should Tennessee be going about playing better baseball, pitching questions, all that and more? I'm going to ask a guy that's been to Hoover many, many times, loves the Dave & Buster's. That is Zander Sechrist. Going to get his thoughts on all that and so much more coming up next right here on the porch. But I do want to remind you guys about our friends over at Spivey King and Spivey LLP. If you got a problem, let them find the solution for you. T and Trial Lawyers. They specialize in criminal defense, family law, and personal injury. Examples of which can be DUIs, divorce, custody, alimony, personal injury such as car wrecks, parental rights, all that and more. They have over 80 years of combined experience. Spivey King and Spivey LLP provides representation throughout state and federal courts in Northeast Tennessee. The firm has a vast amount of trial experience with this practice in place for 43 years. This specific partnership forming in 2012, that being Matthew A. Spivey, J. Matt King, and Richard A. Spivey, great guys, big Tennessee fans. They practice primarily in Northeast Tennessee in the Tri-Cities of Sullivan County, as well as Hawkins County, Washington County, and surrounding areas. They're energized and ready for today's modern legal demands. Whether you've been injured in a car accident, need help with a divorce, help with custody of your children, or you've been accused of a crime, Spivey King and Spivey LLP, they can help you. Pick up the phone today and dial this for a free consultation, 423-245-4185, 423-245-4185, or check them out online at SpiveyKingandSpiveyLLP.com. Spivey King and Spivey LLP. If you got a problem, let them find a solution for you. TN Trial Lawyers. Zander Sechrist, Tennessee is heading to one of your favorite places of all time. That is Hoover, Alabama. Dave & Buster's, arcade games and all that. Are you still, down there being the high score on a lot of those arcade games?
I don't know. They switch them up every year. So every year we went and it'd be like different scores. But there's like this monster or zombie game where it's like one of these things where you have to click the button, you have to time it up and get like this little puck into the slot. We were hammering that, like 500 tickets, 200 tickets. And if you spell out zombie, you get the jackpot, which is over 1,000 tickets. So that's what we crushed. I still have it. It's like in my wallet. There's a lot of cards in there, so I'm not going to really pull it out. But I got like 30 plus K on it. I know. You can use it at any Dave & Buster's. So people out there, if you go to Dave & Buster's, just get a Dave & Buster's card. You can use it anywhere.
What year was this?
Oh, 21, 22, 23, and last year. Like I got it freshman year, and I was like, do these carry over? And I just never purchased anything from the store.
Wow, that's awesome. Is that the Dave & Buster's right there at the mall?
Right next to it. Like
Okay, because that's where they have SEC Media Days when it's in Hoover, and it's all kind of right there.
Yeah, it's right there.
Cool. I might have to stop down there whenever I head down to Hoover this week. So, hey, let's not bury the lead here. We'll get into scenarios and this and that and all that. But, hey, Tennessee's not playing well. You're heading into Hoover for the SEC tournament. You got regionals coming up next week. What do you do? I've asked you this question several times, like, as a team leader, all that and more. But, like, I mean, how does Tennessee kind of – you want some momentum heading into postseason, and there's just no momentum right now. So, what's Tennessee's approach this week?
Win, in my opinion. I think this is the first time in a long time, or maybe since 19, they've been in a position where, winning is like kind of crucial in Hoover. 23, we're the 7th seed, but we kind of we already kind of knew no matter like what we were doing, we were going to go on the road somewhere. I think we played Texas A&M and lost as a 7th seed and the 10th seed. But that's the only time that, it's a little bit different. But going back, this is like the first time Tennessee, in my opinion, needs a couple wins in Hoover to get some momentum heading into postseason play, especially how these last 6 SEC series have gone. And, like, there's really no momentum that I can really think of besides the offense. The offense is kind of clicking, but the pitching is still kind of hit or miss a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see what they roll out there. I think tomorrow, right? Mm-hmm. Early game. That's going to be an early game. 9:30 is not a fun game to be a part of because there's no one there. No one really – I mean, there's some people there, but there's really no one there.
Yeah.
It's dewy. It's humid. It's really hot. It gets hot very quickly. And I think they'll be all right. They play the winner of Bama and Missouri, which I think they played tonight. I don't know.
So – we're recording this on Monday night. That game's going to take place on Tuesday morning, and then Tennessee is going to play on Wednesday morning. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, guys. So Tuesday night they'll probably play more than likely Bama. So I expect them. That'll be a close game. I expect them to win that one, and then Texas is just waiting in the wings. But this is a type of year where you need a couple wins, especially heading into postseason play.
Yeah, like I talk about it every year on the show heading into Hoover. Like, you never want to act like it's not important. You never want to act like you're going out there and nobody is trying to lose, okay? But it's one of those things like, oh, you lost, oh darn. I guess we'll go home and we'll rest for a week and a half and get ready for stuff that actually matters. But I'm with you. Like, I think this approach this year is kind of like, man, you need a win or two. Just like, you're not going to win the whole thing, in my opinion. You could. I mean, Tennessee's talented enough. The format's different. Single elimination, all 16 teams. You never know. But get you a win or two, and sure, that would help in terms of like hosting potential, but I think that's a long shot anyway. But it would just get yourself feeling a little bit better because, the game is so mental. And I think, from a player's perspective, wouldn't a win or two down there this week just go a long way? Yeah,
especially if you get one will satisfy you a little bit. 2 will definitely satisfy you a lot more, especially if they win their game Wednesday and then they turn around and play Texas, which is the number 1 seed. So especially if you beat them, that'll be a great momentum swinger. But I think everybody kind of gets confused on how these teams are so good during the regular season, and then like come tournament time, they take like a different approach to the game. Like you'll see, I don't think, in my opinion, that LSU will take a different approach based off like last year of them getting to the championship and unfortunately them losing in the championship game. Arkansas will take a different approach. They did it with Hagen Smith last year when he was down in Vila. They took him out early against Kentucky, and they didn't mind losing that game. Vandy will take a different approach. Those 3 teams, you'll see probably a little bit difference, but I don't think Texas, with them it being their first year in the SEC, I think they want to proclaim their dominance. So I don't think they'll take a different approach to it. but it does raise questions now that the tournament is now single elimination, which gives even more, like if you're locked in for a host, you just go play and see what you got for maybe the next year, or see what you got heading into the postseason, not necessarily trying to win the thing.
Go back to 2023, where it was much different than 2022 and 2024, because you guys ran the table and won the whole daggum thing, right? In those years. But in 2023, you were one and done. This year, certainly you hope not to be one and done, but talk about the transition from Hoover to regionals. And I know in those years you were hosting, so it was a little bit different. Actually, in 23 you weren't, but in 22 and 24 you were hosting, so it's a little bit different. But having all that off time potentially compared to winning on Sunday evening, holding the trophy, cameras, all that, traveling back, and then get ready for a regional later on. It feels like that's a great experience, but if you do lose, one or two games or whatever, you'll have more time, a little bit of off time, stretch, rehab, all that type of stuff, and then, okay, Monday, figure out where you're going and then go.
Yeah, that's why it brings the single elimination. It's a much different approach to this whole tournament, because top teams are gonna, rest a lot of guys, because that has been the consensus over time. It used to be really competitive. I think probably 10 years ago, every team was just trying to win the thing, and now it's a different approach. You get that extra week and a half if you get eliminated early from your conference tournament, and it saves arms. And besides us winning it last year as a 1 seed, I'm talking about not necessarily the SEC championship, but national championship. Historically, that has not been the route to go at all. Normally, if the top seeds win in their conference tournament, they don't necessarily pan well during their regional or super regional and even Omaha. So I think coaches and players have taken note of that, to where hey, it's not, losing in this conference tournament is not terrible. We're going to get some rest. We're going to be fresh for postseason, but it also can go a whole different route. Last year was abnormal. It's not really normal or normalized, as a number 1 seed, winning it all and then winning it all in Omaha. It obviously hasn't happened in a very, very long time. Like I said, those top 3 teams, you'll see a different approach, but Texas probably won't. But with it being a single elimination, you're definitely going to get different teams taking different approaches. SEC tournament in Hoover is one where you get a lot of that magic number of 9, 10, and 11, where those teams weren't necessarily great in the regular season, but then all of a sudden they get to Hoover and then they just go on a run. You saw it last year with LSU and South Carolina. It was an 11 and 10 seed in the Final Four, and then thanks for pulling up the bracket.
Yeah.
This is awesome. So, you're looking at teams like Florida can make a run. Mississippi State can make a run. Texas A&M's got talent. I think they're probably a sleeper. They could probably get to the Elite Eight or Final Four, because, Missouri, maybe that was just a fluke week. Oklahoma has been up and down. Kentucky can make a run because they've got experience there. And obviously Alabama, I think, takes care of Missouri. But, you get that little sweet spot of 9, 10, 11. It's one of those 3 teams that stand out. Probably going to be Florida, that just makes a run in the tournament. And, they haven't been, so great this season.
What's wild to me is you look at this bracket and you look at the Tuesday games, the very first grouping of games. You have Alabama here at the top against Missouri. Alabama is in the hosting conversation. Florida, as the 10th seed in the SEC tournament, is in an NCAA regional hosting conversation. They're not going to get it, but they're in a hosting conversation. Ole Miss, of course, hosting conversation. Tennessee's technically still in the conversation. Auburn's locked in, and everybody else is pretty much locked in. But this league is so deep that you have teams starting on Tuesday that could potentially play their way into hosting a regional. It's just wild to me. What's the environment like? I've heard a lot of you guys say, I think Luke Lipsy has shared this, in years past, that Omaha is incredible, but Hoover is second to Omaha in terms of fanfare, just everybody crazy about baseball, just your schedule, about how you literally just live baseball for a week. Talk to me about the environment and the fanfare and everything that is Hoover.
You definitely live baseball for a week, or no matter how long you stay, no matter how long your team goes. You get police escorts almost everywhere you go. Omaha is like when you get deeper in the tournament, you get a police escort, but Hoover, you get a police escort basically every time you take a team bus. So it's definitely up there. I think it's maybe run a little bit better, like from a city perspective than Omaha. Like Omaha is obviously where you want to go,
Yeah.
but I think like rallying and how everything is set up and how like the environment is as a whole, I think it's a little bit better because Omaha with fans, it's just a bunch of neutral fans. You have your fans, you have the away fans, but it's not necessarily like the entire stadium. When you're in Hoover and you get later in the tournament, you know what side is your side and what side is not your side. Obviously, it's not as big as Omaha, like the stadium capacity, but it's definitely up there in environments that you want to play in.
Yeah, it's there's things you can always count on. All these fan bases traveling so well, staying and being rowdy, and the weather playing a role in the SEC tournament. I think it's supposed to rain today as well, so it should be interesting to see if any of these games kind of get bugged. Didn't you guys? Was it 2021 where you guys started at like
2 a.m. Yeah,
it was 11 o'clock. Why is it always LSU? I mean, this year whenever Tennessee was at LSU, they started at like 11 p.m. Eastern. I think you guys ended the game at like 2:30 in the morning one year against LSU. That's wild.
We had post-game meal at 3 o'clock in the morning, and we were like, "Well, we got breakfast at 6 hours."
That's insane. That's wild. What did you think about Tennessee kind of mixing up the starting rotation last week? I think a lot of it had to do with Liam Doyle, the blister, trying to keep him on normal rest and all that. They bumped Marcus Phillips up, and hey, Tennessee still won game one. And you're sitting there and you're like, man, you got Marcus Phillips, Tennessee, the bullpen, the offense was the story. The offense came through. And then you're like, you can take the series with Liam Doyle, probably the SEC pitcher of the year he was. And it obviously didn't turn out that way. But ultimately, what did you think about that move? And do you think Tennessee will stay on course, not move anybody up, even though you could technically still play for a hosting right and have Marcus go on Thursday? And then if need be, Marcus Thursday, Doyle Friday, and then, Tegan Coons or whoever on Saturday.
Yeah, I think they'll stay. It really didn't surprise me moving Marcus up, not necessarily because of his performance or lack of performance. It didn't really matter. They just wanted to keep Doyle on the same schedule. And then obviously you have a young guy in Coons. You're not going to necessarily bump him up 2 days. That's pretty hard to do. So they kept those back half guys kind of on a weak schedule to the best of their ability that they could. You move Marcus up because more experienced guy in the role. I know Doyle has started, but then you bring up the blister thing. So all these different kind of factors led to Marcus being moved up. I don't disagree with it. I completely understand where their approach was, because also you got to think, Tennessee was already kind of locked for the 8th seed in Hoover. So that last weekend you try to get a guy, lined up for Hoover, and if you win or lose, it doesn't matter. You'll have live ABs. Trust me, been a part of those too. So you'll have live ABs if you don't make it that far in the tournament. So they'll be on regimen no matter what, and they'll be ready for regionals anyway.
So I guess y'all kept it the same last year. So you would have started that Saturday, right?
I forgot when I started. Yeah, it was a Saturday. Who did we play last? South Carolina.
I know that you played LSU in the championship game, and I know you played Vanderbilt twice, because the second go around with Vanderbilt,
for the second Vanderbilt game.
Okay, that's when you played. That's when you started.
Yes.
Okay, because the second Vanderbilt game, no, that was the Saturday game to get to.
Yes, Sunday.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that would make sense. Based on. Okay, I'm pulling it up right here in real time. This is great podcasting.
Well, if we didn't lose, I was going to start on Sunday, which would have been the championship game, but we lost the first game, and that was more of like a bullpen game because we started Snead.
Yep.
That was like a bullpen game. If we won, everybody would have been lined up, and we just needed 3 games for the championship, but we lost. But we kept everybody on the same schedule, so it all worked out.
So the last 2 years in Hoover, that first game, correct me if I'm wrong. I should probably go back and look, but in 23 you started on a Tuesday. Last year you started on a Thursday. This year you're starting on a Wednesday. But the last 2 years you started your swingman, essentially probably your quote unquote fourth starter. So, in your opinion, who will Tennessee start on Wednesday? I mean, AJ Russell makes all the sense in the world. If not him, maybe Michael Sharman, slash bullpen game. But I think AJ Russell makes a whole lot of sense.
Well, yes, they'll go AJ, but they'll go bullpen game. But I mean, like I said, this tournament is it's not double elimination anymore. So obviously, Coach V and the coaching staff want to win, but there's also the direction of they're locked. Maybe they need rest, but in my opinion, they need a couple wins to get some momentum, not necessarily for rest purposes, just to keep the repetitions up. And I think they'll go AJ for about 3.2, and then it'll be kind of bullpen from there on out. I think if Tennessee's going to win the first game, it's just got to have to be 10-plus runs. Not necessarily calling our bullpen terrible, but I'm just saying if they want to, win that game, that you're going to look at a more offensive side of the game than the defensive side. And then obviously if you win that, you put Marcus next, and then Liam, and then Teagan. So it could all work out, but the first game's going to dictate how far Tennessee's going to go in this tournament.
Hey, going back to Liam and talking about that blister, have you ever dealt with a blister, pitching?
Fortunately, no, I have not. I don't. It's based off how you throw and the seams rub on your fingers. So I have not dealt with a blister, but I heard they're pretty annoying. Not necessarily painful, but they're pretty annoying to deal with.
Liam said his has to do with how he grips down hard on the baseball more so than probably your average pitcher.
Wow, I didn't know. Well, I mean that.
It's probably the seam too, but he talked specifically about the grip. He's like, I bear down on the ball, and that probably has something to do with it.
There you go. I mean, pitchers and lefties are weird, so that's new to me because usually when I think of a blister, I'm thinking of like the seam just kind of rubbing in the same spot and just getting a blister going. So that's a little bit different, but hey, whatever works for him. I mean, he's doing great, obviously, with the SEC Pitcher of the Year. So, obviously, you're not gonna change that. So, I hope he keeps doing his thing, and hopefully, we get to see him pitch in Hoover at least one time.
So, I was going to ask you that. I mean, SEC Pitcher of the Year, phenomenal stuff. That was really, really cool. But how do you take a guy that was in 2024? He was 2-4, 14 appearances, 46 innings and a third. His ERA was 6.35. That's Liam Doyle. I mean, Frank and Tony wouldn't have took him if they didn't think that he had something, obviously. But is it as simple as this? Is it as simple as the Frank Anderson effect and the Q effect? I mean, you get in here, you change your body, you work with Frank, and then if you got any ounce of potential, boom, you're going to reach it. I mean, this guy's going to be a top probably 13, 14 pick. I mean, again, his stats with Ole Miss, 6.35 ERA, 2-4. And then you go from that to SEC Pitcher of the Year. Phenomenal.
It does a little bit have to do with Coach A and Q, but also you got to think this guy is already pitching a full year in the SEC, so he already knows what kind of baseball he's going to get into, no matter what. So I think him just getting repetitions and more experience in SEC ball has definitely helped him and has propelled him to the pitcher that he is today. Obviously, him working with Frank and Q is going to make a huge difference, of course. I'm not denying that. But also there's the fact of him just being in those types of situations, those types of games, have definitely made him a more experienced guy on the mound, especially in the SEC type realm. And, I mean, last year he pitched against Vanderbilt, I think, in the SEC tournament in a night game. Maybe it wasn't Vanderbilt. I don't know. But he did, and he did well. So, he's pitched there before. Marcus has pitched there before.
Marcus had a really good outing against Vanderbilt last year.
Yeah, he came in after me and threw 3 innings and shut the door. Which
by the way, that is – and I feel like Tennessee's lacked that at points in times this year. You go from Stamos to Kazi. You go from you to Marcus. I mean, just completely different looks. I mean, that's probably one of the most different looks ever. You to Marcus Phillips, you lefty, not super high on the velo, but the velo got up there a little bit last year as well. But then Marcus comes in just pumping 100 from the right side. Like, it's just, I mean, that's gotta be so difficult for hitters.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed. I think this year has tried to do that, but it just hasn't necessarily worked out in a sense. But like you said, I'm more of a crafty guy, not going to light up the radar gun. I'll show a 90, I'll flash. But Marcus just came in just pumping 100. And, I mean, it was set up perfectly for him, going from a crafty lefty to a just hard-throwing righty.
I mean, the opening act was the story there, right?
Yeah. It was set up great. And obviously, I bet he's excited to go back to Hoover. He'll do just fine. If they keep with, again, we don't know who they're going to start when, but if they keep up, he'll start Thursday. Obviously, they have to win.
Yeah.
He'll start Thursday with Doyle. I guess they're still put on Sunday, so I guess they get a day off. Maybe
they would if you Friday would be the off day for Tennessee.
Okay, so then Doyle gets an extra day of rest. So
yeah.
Then you're just going to see a more fresh Doyle, and then Teagan, who's been starting Sundays in the third game, will just keep in his rhythm anyway. So it's set up great if they can just pull it off. Obviously, you got to win the first game first.
How's the hat this year with the Fort Myers Flying Squirrels? Is the hat
Mighty Muscles? Mighty Muscles.
Has the hat been staying on the head?
I actually have 0 hat offs, whatever you want to put. I know if
that's unfortunate. That's a bummer.
I know if there was a hat line out there, it would have probably been set at 22.5 for the year. But no, I've had none. So I got a good fitting hat where I don't have to roll up the bill in the back, because later on in the year when the hair got longer, I had to roll up the bill. I remember Chris Berg talking about it at Omaha, and he was like, he thought it was just like some weird thing that I did, but no, it's because my hat on just would not stay on.
Do you have a bobblehead of yourself?
No, but I wish. That'd be kind of
cool.
The
bobblehead of you should be bending over and picking up the hat off the ground.
That's what I'm saying. Or me lying on the ground after taking a
man,
line drive from Southern Miss.
That was like 94 exit velo. When was that? I forgot.
It was the regional final.
I remember that, man. That was you stayed in, right? That was early in the game.
Yeah, but trust me, it hurt.
Hockey guy, though.
Well, here's the thing. Speaking of the SEC tournament, I got hit by Bulger on my right leg, right on the inner part of my knee, like right on, like where you bend your knee, like right in there. But it wasn't on the bone; it was on the muscle. So that hurt. It bruised up. Then the Southern Miss thing happens, and that just hits barely below where Bulger hit me. So that hit it hard. That bruised it up. I was finally recovering from the Bulger hit. And then I get one smacked right there. And then Evansville, I get hit right in the same spot as Bulger, but that was the lower velo one. Yeah. That one where it was like, that didn't really hurt. It nicked me a little bit. So I got hit 3 weeks in a row, and I don't know if anyone knows that, but I got hit 3 straight starts in a row.
I think I remember this now. I remember the one that was the toughest, which I would assume was the regional finale. Yeah, one of those you were on the ground there for a bit, but I do remember that happened like a lot repetitively. But hey, again, you're a hockey guy, right? I mean, you were.
Hey, hockey guy. Thank you.
Yeah, hockey guy. All right, man. Let's see what happens in Hoover this weekend. Any predictions? Anything you want to see specifically from a player? Anything from Tony or Frank? I mean, what do you want to sit down and see from Tennessee this week in Hoover? Winning it all, talent's there. Obviously, Tennessee's done it twice in the last 3 years. It can happen. I wouldn't call it. I wouldn't bet on it, but it can happen. What do you want to see from Tennessee?
Well, I am a fan now. I was going to say,
yeah, you are.
Man, I'm a fan now. I want to see, not necessarily like the offense is going to do their thing. If they have a bad game, so be it. It doesn't matter. I just kind of want to see if we can Wednesday's a perfect opportunity for the bullpen to get right. If we can have a bullpen game on Wednesday, and not necessarily, I'm saying win 1-0, 2-1, like a tight ball game. But I just want to see a game where less than 5 runs, over 9 innings and quality stuff from the bullpen, depending on who they put out there. AJ, we agree with the AJ thing, so he'll start. But I just want to see a complete game from the bullpen, and not necessarily treat it like a midweek, but treat it like, someone's coming after your job. I mean, that's a little harsh, but like, you got to treat it like that. And because if you show out in the tournament, let's say on a Wednesday game, you're very reliable to go in on the championship on Sunday, or in a tough situation on Saturday to get you into the championship game. So it's just for the young guns to really, one, experience Hoover for those who haven't been there, and two, lock up something, like gain some trust from the coaching staff. So as a fan, I just want to see a complete game from the bullpen. But that could be thrown out the window if AJ Russell goes 5 innings and gives up none.
Yeah, or you could be Dylan Lloyd. You could pitch in literally every single game. Hey, what if I told you that Dylan Lloyd tied for the SEC lead with 27 appearances this year? Would you believe me?
Yeah, I would believe you. It doesn't surprise me because we just knew. We all knew. I mean, maybe not the fans, but we kind of knew in the locker room like who Dylan Lloyd was going to be. He's going to be the next Kirby. So, yep. I mean, now everybody's fruitioning. So he could start. Heck, we could put him on Wednesday if we want to. And if Teagan doesn't, let's say if we get to the championship, all works out. If Teagan doesn't do well, you got Lloyd, who's been in that spot and threw 4 innings and 4+ in the
4 innings in the third, yeah.
Yeah. So Dylan Lloyd is like this Swiss Army knife that we could use for however long we need be.
Yeah. It'll be interesting, man, a lot of these different scenarios, and we'll see what happens with Tennessee. And the next time you and I talk, hopefully, see if I get my math right, hopefully we'll be talking about an upcoming super regional for Tennessee. How about that?
Good. I hope so. I don't think if we win, we can host one. Maybe. We got to have some dominoes fall.
Yeah. But, I mean, yeah, you got to have some dominoes fall. But, like, if Tennessee wins the tournament in Hoover, it's going to be hard to deny a host seed. So We'll see what happens. Zander, as always, man, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Awesome stuff there from Zander Sechrist, kind of laying it out there, what needs to happen for Tennessee in Hoover this week, how to go about picking yourself out of a rut, what to do in Hoover on an off day or after the game's over, all that and more from Zander Sechrist, who loves him some Hoover and, of course, is doing great things in minor league baseball right now. All right, Tennessee and the SEC field. Is it going to be Missouri? Is it going to be Alabama? I would assume it's Alabama. We do know if you win that one, it's going to be Texas on Thursday. We'll see what happens. A big week coming up for Tennessee, trying to get themselves off the mat, feeling good about themselves, pick up a couple of W's heading into NCAA Regional, which will likely be away from Lindsey Nelson Stadium. But as we pointed out earlier in the show, there is a path. There are some scenarios where Tennessee could host, and we'll have to see exactly how all that plays out. Spivey King and Spivey LOP, presenting partner of the Porch right here. If you got a problem, let them find a solution. TN Trial Lawyers. They'll give you a free consultation if you dial 423-245-4185, 423-245-4185, or check them out online at SpiveyKingandSpiveyLOP.com. You got a problem, let them find a solution for you. That is TN Trial Lawyers. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you're down there at the Hoover Met this week, say hello if you see me. Would love to speak to you. More than anything, we'll see what happens with Tennessee and kind of get the right path forward. And we'll see, of course, Selection Sundays coming up next Monday, a Memorial Day. Fun time of the year. Love college baseball postseason. Love it. And hopefully Tennessee can have some wins kind of rolling on into that next phase. Appreciate you guys for being here, checking us out on the Porch. It is a Volquest.com baseball podcast.